All right. Okay, this is not ESPN's 30 for 30. However, it is my 98 for 98. The 98 seasons in the history of the New York Football Giants. Going to try to get it done in 98 days. That's probably not going to happen. However, I am going to get it done, and I should have it done by the beginning of the new season, which starts September 10th against those Dallas Cowboys. And we're forging ahead. We're in the 2012 season. Of course, we all know what happened in 2011. It was the magical season for the New York Giants, their Super Bowl run, where they captured their fourth Lombardi Trophy, and their 8th overall NFL championship. Unfortunately, for us Giant fans, it would be their last Lombardi Trophy they would capture, and it would be their last NFL championship that they would capture. So we're still waiting. But hopefully with Brian Daboll and Saquon and Danny Dimes and so on, hopefully the next Super Bowl victory won't be too far in the future, if you know what I mean. So 2012 is the 88th season in history of the New York Giants, 88th season in history of the New York Giants, 93rd season in the history of the NFL. NFL started in 1920, Giants started in 1925. The Giants are 5 years younger than the NFL is. And as we go along through this season here, Giants just missed the playoffs. It was an odd season for the Giants, just an odd season. Their defense was okay, nothing super spectacular. Their offense, they scored some points. They were scoring some points. It was just an odd season. And so we'll go over it more as we, as we go in a little more in depth and detail over the games, game by game. But unfortunately for the Giants, it was what actually happened after the 2011 season was all too familiar for us Giant fans. The Giants went to the Super Bowl 5 times. 4 out of 5, this one particular thing happened, and it's not good. 1986, the Giants went and won the Super Bowl. 1987, they missed the playoffs. 1990, they went to and won the Super Bowl. 1991, they missed the playoffs. 2000, they went to the Super Bowl. 2001, they missed the playoffs. One exception, 2007, they went to and won the Super Bowl. 2008, they made the playoffs. That's the only time. 2011, they went to and won the Super Bowl. 2012, they missed the playoffs. So, all familiar tune for us Giant fans. However, as I said, it was a good season, winning season. They just missed the playoffs by a game, and we'll go over that more in depth and detail. But let's start off with the preseason for the New York Giants here. Let's see here. The preseason started off on Friday, August 10th, against the Jacksonville Jaguars at Everbank Field. There you go, in Jacksonville, Florida. It was a good game, but the Giants would lose 32-31. Very exciting. The following week, on Saturday, August 18th, the Giants were the away team when they played the Jets. But the Giants would win 26-3. Very impressive. The following week, the Giants were the home team against the Chicago Bears on Friday, August 24th, and the Giants would lose 20-17. The final game, now this was now we're talking barn burners here, baby, huh? The final preseason game was on Wednesday, August 29th, against the New England Patriots. The Giants were at home at MetLife Stadium. The Giants would win 6-3. What a barn burner that baby was. So the Giants were 2-2 in the preseason, right? What does Wikipedia have to say about the 2012 season for the New York Football Giants here? All right. The 2012 New York Giants season was the franchise's 88th season in the National Football League. It was the 9th under head coach Tom Coughlin, and the 3rd playing their home games at the new MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Giants began the 2012 season as defending Super Bowl champions for the fourth time in their history by virtue of their 21-17 victory in Super Bowl 46 over the Patriots. Their second Super Bowl victory of the Patriots. The Giants finished 9-7 for the second straight year, but failed to make the playoffs. They missed by a game. Like in 2011, the Giants went 3-5 after a 6-2 start. They faltered down the end. The 2012 Giants were also the first defending Super Bowl champion to miss the playoffs since the 2009 Pittsburgh Steelers. So, all right. So let's, as I said, once again, they were, they just missed. So let's go over their draft. And once again, this was another perfect example of what wound up happening with the Giants. As time wore on, their cupboard just got bare. And they won the Super Bowl, and then this year they went 9-7. They missed the playoffs, and then they just started going downhill from there. And this is just another perfect example with their draft, why their cupboard got bare under Jerry Reese. Their first overall pick. Now I'm hearing some conflicting reports on this one. Patty Traynor from was it Locked On Giants? I believe it is. She was kind of talking about like one of the problems the Giants had back then, which is maybe kind of not what they had nowadays. Kind of nowadays with Joe Shane, going and talking to the coaches and talking with him and Dayball and everything. What kind of ball players do we need? What kind of ball players does Wink want? What kind of ball player? What do we need? Let's talk. What do we need and all? And one of the biggest problems was, I know that Bill Parcells had, Dan Reeves had, and even to some extent Tom Coughlin too, is the problem they had was the personnel. And Bill Parcells, he said this of Robert Kraft. He said, if you want me to cook the dinner or something like that, at least you should let me shop for the groceries. Right? Meaning, if you want me to put a winner on the field, all right, I'm the coach. I know what we need, but let me pick the players. And, that wasn't always the case. A lot of times, like with Jerry Reese and stuff. And I kind of heard, I remember Patty Traynor, I think, was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. The Giants selected David Wilson, running back from Virginia Tech, with their first selection. And pick number 32, because they had the 32nd pick because they won the Super Bowl after 2011. So with their first round selection, they took David Wilson. And what Patty Traynor was talking about was also somewhere along the lines is that they kind of, I don't know who they wanted, meaning maybe Tom Coughlin, but I don't, maybe what she was talking about was kind of like, he maybe really didn't particularly like this pick. You're trying to, once again, I said, you're trying to, I'm trying to win you another Super Bowl, this, that, and the other thing, and you're just basically picking the players for me and giving me these players, and I'm supposed to turn them into Super Bowl champions. So they said she said there was a couple picks she was talking about, but I think this was one of them. When they drafted David Wilson in the first round. It was good backing on everything, but I think that Tom Coughlin wanted them to go maybe in a different direction, and it's a shame. All of their, and it's just kind of odd. 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 7 picks. I didn't have a 5th round pick because they traded away, but they had 2 4th round picks. They got a compensatory pick in the 4th round because they lost some extra players to free agency. But out of the 7 picks, 6 of them played their entire career with the New York Giants. Which is odd, very odd. Because usually, some of the later rounds, maybe they'll go someplace else, play a year here, a year there, or something like that. There was only one guy, which is Matt McCants, who didn't play at all for the Giants. I think he missed 1 year. Was it him or Brandon Mosley? Let's see. I think it might have been Matt McCants. Yeah. He missed the 2012 season. I'm not sure of injuries or whatever, but then he wound up playing with Oakland and Chicago. So he never actually played with the Giants. But the other 6 guys played their entire careers with the Giants. They never went anywhere else, which is something good. The problem is that nobody played more than 4 years, right? And so the problem is that one of them, Ruben Randall, tried to play with other teams. He just never he never played another snap, an NFL snap, their second round pick with another team. He was on practice squads and stuff like that, but never played another NFL down with another team. So actually his whole NFL career was with the Giants, although he did try to latch on to some other teams, but he kept getting cut or waived. But so they never when you draft somebody, obviously you want to have them, and then they get a second contract, and you keep them for a long period of time. Nobody here played more than 4 seasons. They had 7 players. None of them played more than 4 seasons in the NFL. You want the guys to maybe make the team, play for your team, but you want to get them, develop them, and retain them, and keep them on it. Get them on a second contract. Keep them for long periods of time. And as I said, for sustainability, none of these guys played more than 4 seasons in the NFL. And just once again, this is why the coverage kept getting bare. We're not replenishing. None of these guys. Ruben Randall wasn't too bad. He their second round pick. We'll go over him in just a second. He actually had 188 receptions for the Giants in 4 seasons, and then he never played another down in the NFL. The Giants didn't re-sign him, and he went elsewhere, and he never played another down. David Wilson was a very good back, but he wound up getting hurt. We'll go over him. He played 2 seasons. Actually played 1.5 seasons, and his career was over. So it's just none of these guys played more than 4 seasons in the NFL. And just, as I said, to try to build a team, you can't build a team when you keep drafting guys and you never re-sign them to a second contract. So David Wilson, right, with pick number 32 from Virginia Tech, was a very, very good athlete. But let's see here. He played in 2012 for the Giants. He signed a 4-year contract with the Giants worth $6.68 million. That included a club option for a 5th year and a $3.3 million signing bonus. So he had a nice. Let's see here. His rookie season, he averaged 4.4 yards an attempt. Let's see here. Where was he at here on the old pecking order here as far as with the Giants running backs and everything? 32. Let's see. Yeah, Ahmad Bradshaw had 1,000 yards. Andre Brown was a running back for the Giants. He had 385 yards. David Wilson had 358 yards. So basically between Ahmad Bradshaw, Andre Brown, and David Wilson, they had about 1,800 yards rushing combined between the 3 of them. Right around there. David Wilson was not, the main back. He started in 2 games. Ahmad Bradshaw started in 12 games. Andre Brown started in 2 games, and David Wilson started in 2 games. So, if you look at David Wilson, had 71 carries for 358 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, and he averaged 5 yards a carry. Very impressive. Very impressive, right? Ahmad Bradshaw had 4.6 yards a carry, and Andre Brown 5.3. As a team, they averaged 4.6 yards a carry, which was a lot better than what they did their Super Bowl season. Super Bowl season, they averaged under 4 yards a carry. Here, they averaged over 4.5 yards a carry. Very impressive. The running game got a lot better this year. Much better. But as I said, if we go back to, sadly, David Wilson's situation here. He played the entire 2012 season, But in 2013, Wilson was placed on season-ending injured reserve after he suffered what doctors called spinal stenosis in Week 5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I mean, like David Wilson in 2012, and then Victor Cruz, he got injured against the Eagles as well. It was just doctors had told Wilson that he faced an increased risk of a neck injury if he ever played again. Wilson underwent neck surgery on January 16, 2014. On August 4th, 2014, he was ruled out for the year due to his neck again. So he tried to come back. He had the neck surgery. He tried to come back and play in August, and he was ruled out for the year due to his neck. He was advised not to play football ever again because of recurring neck injuries, and announced his retirement from the NFL on August 6th, 2014. So he played, what did he play? He played 21 games. That was his career in the NFL, 21 games. I mean, he got a chance to play in 21 games. So, right, but such a shame. I mean, he was a great guy, very good athlete. He even returned a kickoff back for a touchdown. I mean, he would have been a very solid running back for the Giants for years to come. But unfortunately, with his neck, really shortened his career. So in the second round, the Giants drafted Ruben Randall. And, I'll tell you what, from LSU, let's see. His first year, he had 19 receptions, but then in 2013, he had 41. 2014, he actually had 71 receptions. 2015, his final season with the Giants, he had 57 receptions, and the Giants did not re-sign him. He had 20 touchdown catches in 4 years, and they did not re-sign him. So he played till 2015. On March 23rd, 2016, Randall signed a one-year contract worth roughly about $3 million to play with the Eagles. However, he was released on August 28th. So he never made the team, the final team. On January 10th, 2017, basically the following season, Randall signed a reserve future contract with the Chicago Bears. On August 13, 2017, Randall was placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. He was released on September 12th, 2017. Then he played, let's see here, with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, right? On May 22nd, 2018, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League announced that they had signed Randall to a contract. He was released on June 9th. So basically on May 22nd, he'd signed a contract. About 18 days later, he got released. So he never played another down in the NFL or the CFL. So, but I mean, I don't know if I don't know if he got injured, exactly what it was, but he played 4 seasons with the Giants, and he never played another down in the NFL with the Giants or anybody. A short career. All right, so then in the third round, the New York Giants took Jaron Hosley, a defensive back from Virginia Tech. He played his entire career with the Giants. He played 2012 to 2015. His rookie season, he actually started in 6 games. 2013, he started in 1. 2014, he was a defensive back, right cornerback. 2014, he started in 2 games. In his final season, in 2015, he played in 6 games. And Wikipedia doesn't have much of anything on him. But he played his entire career with the New York Giants, 2012 to 2015. After 2015, he never played another down in the NFL. So the first 3 guys, they all played their entire careers with the Giants, which was great. But, it was way too short. All right, so their 4th round selection, their own 4th round selection, they took Adrian Robinson, a tight end from Cincinnati. He played 3 seasons in the NFL. They were all with the New York Giants, 2012, 2013, and 2014. And he never played another down ever again. He was a tight end, and just to kind of go to show you how some pretty sad. So, I mean, nowadays you get a 4th-round pick, you really like to get a little production out of the guy, you know. I mean, Shane's draft. Well, we traded away our 4th-round pick this year, but you know, we're getting some good quality, production from our 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round picks from Shane. But this is our 4th round pick. He was a tight end. He started 1 game for the Giants. He caught his first 2 seasons with the Giants. That's your 4th round pick. He didn't catch a pass. He played in 3 games. His final season with the Giants, he played in 16 games. He started 1. He had 5 receptions. So in his entire career with the Giants, he had 5 career receptions for the Giants. Then his career was over. 3 years, and that was it. All right, so with the compensatory pick that the Giants got, and I want to make sure, we get this right here. All right, I think it was, let's see, because they lost. We had Barry Cofield, Kevin Boss, and Steve Smith. They lost, so they got a compensatory pick. All right, with that compensatory pick, they took Brandon Mosley, a tackle from Auburn. And he played 2 seasons in the NFL, both with the Giants. He actually started 1 game in 2013 at tackle. He played a grand total of 22 games, I guess maybe special teams or whatever, but he played 2 seasons, 2013. He missed the 2012 season. Played 2013, 2014, both with the Giants. Never played another down ever again. All right, so then the one pick that never played for the Giants is Matt McCants, their 6th-round selection, another tackle from Alabama, Birmingham. He played his entire career, while most of it was with the Raiders. He missed the 2012 season. He played 2013, 2014, 2015, and part of 2016 with the Raiders, and then he finished up his career playing 2 games for the Chicago Bears in 2016, and then he never played another down ever again in the NFL. So his career was 4 years. So out of all 7 picks, not one of them played more than 4 seasons in the NFL. All right, and then their final pick was Marcus Kuhn, a defensive tackle from North Carolina State. Same thing here. He played his whole career was with the New York Giants. He played 2012, 13, 14, and 15, a defensive tackle with the Giants, and after 15, he never played another down in the NFL. 2012, he started in 1 game. 2014, started in 1 game. 2015, he played in 10, started 9 games for the Giants in 2015, never played another down in the NFL or for the Giants, or, you know. So it was just an all familiar tune for the Giants, you know, once again. Not that certainly that David Wilson was a bad pick or Ruben Randall was a bad pick. No, certainly not. It's just that their careers were way too short. You know, for one, obviously, for David Wilson's due to injury and all, but, you know, they once again, you're not, you know, filling up the cupboard, right? It just starts getting bare. You know, guys play a couple seasons for you and then they're gone. You know, this is what you need. You need these guys. You need your, not all 7. I certainly understand that, but you got to have 3-4 guys or so out of each draft. I know, you know, sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's so important, you know, to hit on these draft picks. And Jerry Reese was not doing a good job of it, let me tell you. All right, so that is that. Let's go over. I mean, as the Giants here, they scored 26.8 points a game, almost 27 points a game. They were 6th in the NFL. Their defense wasn't too bad. They were 12th in the NFL. They gave up 21.5 points per game. Right. Let's see here. What do we got? I mean, I went over the running. The running wasn't too bad. Eli obviously played and started all 16 games. He was 9-7, obviously, as a starter. He completed 59.9% of his passes. He had 3,948 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. As I said, you know, the Giants had, over 1,862 yards rushing. They had 18 rushing touchdowns, averaged 4.6 yards a carry. Not too bad. What do we got here? Victor Cruz had another monster season, 86 receptions, 1,092 yards. Martellus Bennett, right? Very good pickup for the Giants. Their tight end, he had 55 receptions. Hakeem Nicks, he had 53 receptions. Dominic Hickson had 39 receptions. Ruben Randall had 19. Ramses Barden, yeah. He had 14 receptions. Mon Bradshaw had 23. Andre Brown had 12. David Wilson had 4 coming out of the backfield. Henry Hynoski, there you go. He even had 11 receptions. So, I mean, the Giants had between, obviously it was between David Carr and Eli Manning, the two quarterbacks. They had almost 4,000 yards passing between the two of them. So, not a bad season, right? They had almost 1,900 yards rushing, almost 4,000 yards passing. Not a bad season. As I said, they scored some points. Lawrence Tynes was 33 out of 39, field goal 84.6%, very solid. He only missed 6 field goals all year. He kicked all 46 extra points. So, I mean, not only did we get 33 field goals, but he kicked 46 extra points. So, very, very good season for the New York Giants. Steve Weatherford averaged 47.5 yards per punt. A phenomenal season. I mean, he gave up some return yards because his net was 39.4. So basically, he averaged like 8 yards a return. But he only had 6 touchbacks. It was not too bad. He had 22 kicks inside the 20-yard line. So he had, very, very good season for Steve Weatherford. Let's see here. What do we got now? The Giants here. They had 33 sacks, so nothing super spectacular as far as a big-time pass rush, but their offensive line only gave up 20 sacks all season. Phenomenal job. They did a great job of protecting Eli. They gave him time, and, they rewarded it with 27 points per game, almost average. Very, very good. But now let's go to the games here. I mean, this is where it just some of the stuff is just a little head scratching here, right? The first game of the year, they played the Dallas Cowboys at home, right? And they lost 24-17. Let's see. Yeah, it was kind of back and forth. The Cowboys were up 24-10, and then the Giants. With 2.5 minutes left to go, Martellus Bennett scored a 9-yard touchdown reception from Eli Manning to make it 24-17. But the Cowboys won. It is what it is. The Cowboys had 433 yards of offense. The Giants had only 269. So Cowboys were a better team, and they wound up winning. So the Giants started off 0-1. Then they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 41-34. Tampa Bay finished a record of 7-9, so they weren't the horrible team. They were 7-9, and the Giants beat them 41-34. But once again, the Giants scored some points, but the defense gave up some points. The following week, on the road in Carolina, I mean, this is just some of the stuff that's just a little weird here. Carolina finished a record of 7-9. They were tied Tampa Bay. Actually, it was weird. The Panthers, the Saints, and the Bucs. The Giants beat all 3 of them. They all finished with a record of 7-9. But the Giants went on the road in Carolina, and they won 36-7. I mean, just totally beat up on the Carolina Panthers. The following week, once again, they had played the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles wound up winning by a score of 19-17. Tough game. The Eagles, Alex Henry kicked the field goal. The Giants were winning 17-16. Yeah, it's a shame because if Giants won one of these games that they lost, they probably would have made the playoffs. I'm not exactly sure if it would have had a tiebreaker in there, exactly whatever, but they would have had their record would have been 10-6, and it would have been possibly good enough to make the playoffs. As I said, I'm not sure what the tiebreakers were. Because the Redskins finished 10-6. So. But the Minnesota Vikings, let's see, they had a record of 10-6. The Bears had a record of 10-6. So I'm not sure if the Giants could have got in as a wild card or not, but the record of 10-6 would have been possibly good enough to get them into the playoffs. And they just missed by 1 game. But I said, but the Giants went ahead with 6 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. Bear Pasco caught a 6-yard touchdown reception from Eli Manning to go up 17-16. So we're in Philadelphia. We're up 17-16. But as usually what happened a lot of times with the Eagles just walked down the field, kicked a 26-yard field goal with 1 minute 49 seconds left to go. They went up 19-17. Giants got the ball back. They had a chance. But apparently, I guess they couldn't do anything with it. And they wound up losing 19-17. So now the Giants are 2-2. All right, they had a couple tough losses, and they're 2-2. Then they would go on the road and on a roll, and it would become 6-2, as it said in Wikipedia. Right? They beat the Cleveland Browns 41-27 at home. Then they went on the road. Now this is just one of the head scratchers. They went on the road. They beat the San Francisco 49ers 26-3 in San Francisco. San Francisco went to the Super Bowl and almost won the Super Bowl. And the Giants went into San Francisco and beat them 26-3. And the Giants couldn't even make the playoffs. The following week, the Giants at home beat the Washington Redskins in a close one, 27-23. And then the Giants in Dallas returned the favorite to the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys 29-24. So now the Giants are 6-2. Halfway through the season, they're 6-2. Looking decent like that. We should have a shot at maybe making the playoffs. But unfortunately, as it said in Wikipedia, they finished 3-5. They missed the playoffs. They finished 9-7. They lost a tough one to Pittsburgh the following week to go at home. Pittsburgh came to Jersey, MetLife Stadium, and the Steelers would wind up beating the Giants 24-20. The Giants were up 20-10 at home going into the fourth quarter against the Steelers. So the Steelers scored 10 points in the first 3 quarters of the game. And the Giants defense gave up 14 points in the fourth quarter to the Steelers. Steelers scored 2 touchdowns. Mike Wallace scored a 51-yard pass, and Isaac Redman with 4 minutes and 2 seconds left to go had a 1-yard touchdown run. The Steelers went up 24-20. Giants got the ball back once again with 4 minutes left to go. They couldn't do anything with it. So they faltered. It is what it is. But I'm saying, but these games, the Steelers were the better team. The Giants only had 182 yards of offense in this game. Very, 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 they were way outplayed. But, it is what it is. But, it's all of these tough losses that these teams that the Giants had a lead on, and they give up the lead in the end of the fourth quarter. If one of these games turned around, they beat the 49ers, who went to the Super Bowl. The Giants could have got into the show, into the playoffs. Maybe something magical could have happened like it did in 2007 and 2011. But once again, they were 1 game short. So then the following week, they lost on the road to Cincinnati 31-13. So they're beating some teams on the road, and then they go on the road and they're getting annihilated by something. They beat Carolina 36-7. They beat San Francisco 26-3. Then they go on the road and they lose 31-13 to the Cincinnati Bengals. So now the Giants are 6-4. They would rebound the following week. Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers would come to MetLife Stadium, and the Giants would beat them 38-10. Now, let's see here. Where we at here? Now, they're both, Green Bay finished with a record 11-5, and Aaron Rodgers, and they killed them, absolutely killed them. The 49ers were 11-4-1, and the Giants went into San Fran and killed them, and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. It's like, go figure. So now the Giants are 7-4 after they beat the Packers. Well, then, unfortunately, the following week, they would go into Washington, and they would lose another tough one, another close, tough one. 17-16, they would lose to the Redskins. The Giants scored 3 points in the whole second half. They were up 16-10 going into the fourth quarter. They scored 3 points in the third, couldn't score a point. They scored a field goal in the fourth quarter. They would have won this game. They couldn't score anything in the fourth quarter. Pierre Garçon scored an 8-yard touchdown pass from Robert Griffin III with 11 minutes and 31 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter to go up 17-16. The Giants couldn't get in field goal range, or maybe they did, maybe they missed one. I don't know, but they couldn't even kick a field goal the whole fourth quarter. Let's see, what was their offense? They had almost 400 yards of offense. They had no turnovers, 390 yards of offense, and they couldn't even kick a field goal. I mean, Eli Manning had 280 yards passing. They had 117 yards rushing, 21 first downs, and they couldn't even kick a field goal in the fourth quarter. Once again, another lost opportunity. If they could have kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter, they would have won 19-17. And then with this game especially with this game here, if they could have won this game, kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter, won 19-17, they would have been 10-6, and the Redskins would have finished 9-7, and then the Giants would have won the division. They would have got into the show, and anything's possible because two of the teams that got into the playoffs, one was the 49ers and the Giants beat them. The other one was the Packers, and they beat them. So once again, these tough, close losses that the Giants had, if they could have won one of them, especially this one against the Redskins, they would have won. They would have went to the playoffs. Then the following week, the Giants, their arch nemesis, the New Orleans Saints, they came to town. The Giants beat them 52-27. I think this is the game where David Wilson returned a kickoff back for a touchdown here. Because I was always positive it was against the Saints. David Wilson, 97-yard kickoff return. Yep. The Giants went 52-27. I mean, just killed them. Absolutely killed them. I mean, it's kind of weird. The Giants had 394 yards of offense. The Saints had almost 487 yards. The Saints had almost 500 yards of offense. Once again, they basically, whenever they played Drew Brees, they just couldn't stop him. He had 354 yards passing. The only time they really slowed Drew Brees down that I can remember was in 2016. It was like the third game of the season. Other than that, Drew Brees usually had a field day against the Giants. Absolute field day against them. But anyway, this game here, the Giants won 52-27. And the Saints were a decent team. They were 7-9. Then the following week against the Atlanta Falcons, once again, this is one of those weird things. The Atlanta Falcons were 13-3. So the Giants went to Atlanta and they lost 30. They won 52-27. Then the following week they lost 34-0 to the Falcons. It's just weird because the Falcons, the Packers, and the 49ers were the other three division winners. The Giants beat 2 out of 3 of them. The Giants killed the 49ers, they killed the Packers, and then when they went into Atlanta and played the Falcons, they lost 34-0. Absolutely got demoralized. So now the Giants are 8-6. They still have a chance. Right? Still have a chance. Unfortunately, the chances, I think, pretty much went by the wayside. The following week when they went into Baltimore, they lost to the Ravens 33-14. Now the Giants are 8-7. I think they were pretty much eliminated from the playoffs at that particular point in time. And the final game of the season, they played at home against the Eagles, and what was Andy Reid's final game. The Eagle as coach of the Eagles, and the Eagles pretty much gave up on this season. They gave up on Andy Reid. They really did him bad. The Eagles finished 4-12, but because you know why? But because Andy Reid was such a phenomenal coach, they gave up on him. They fired him, and they did us a favor. So now Andy Reid is with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's no longer in the NFC East. So this team, the 2012 Eagle team, which gave up on Andy Reid, right, did us a favor. Did us Redskins/Commanders, us Cowboy fan, and us Giant fans a huge favor because they wound up getting rid of Andy Reid, and now he's with the Kansas City Chiefs winning Super Bowls. If he had stayed with the Philadelphia Eagles, he might have been winning Super Bowls with the Philadelphia Eagles, but no. So they got rid of him. So the Giants won 42-7. It's just they won a game 42-7. They lost the game 34-0. Then they won 52-27. Then they won a game 38-10. Then they won a game 26-3. Then they won a game 36-7. And they had so many close losses. They were just killing teams. And they had that one big loss to the Falcons. And then they lost 33-14 to the Ravens, too. But, I mean, a lot of them, they were just killing some teams. And they had so many close losses. You know, they had like 3 or so games, just close losses, close, tough losses, that if one of them went their way, they might have made the playoffs. It's such a shame. But they just fell a little bit short. So let's go. What does Wikipedia have to say about the 2012 NFL season? The 2012 NFL season was the 93rd season in the history of the National Football League and the 47th of the Super Bowl era. It began on Wednesday, September 5th, 2012, with the defending Super Bowl champion New York Giants falling to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL kickoff game at MetLife Stadium. And it ended with the Super Bowl 47, the league's championship game on Sunday, February 3rd, 2013 at Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, with the Jim Harbaugh coach San Francisco 49ers facing the John Harbaugh, coach Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens won the game, which marked the first time two brothers were head coaches for opposing teams in the championship game. It was a very, very good Super Bowl. But let's go over here. Let's go over the AFC, shall we? The AFC, of course, with Tom Brady, right? The AFC East, the Patriots won with a record of 12-4. AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens won with a record of 10-6. The Cincinnati Bengals got in. They had a record of 10-6 as well, but they were a wild card team. In the AFC South, the Houston Texans, they won with a record of 12-4, and the Indianapolis Colts were second with a record of 11-5. So the Cincinnati Bengals and the Indianapolis Colts were the two wildcard teams. AFC West, the Denver Broncos, they won with a record of 13-3. So in the playoffs, the Ravens beat the Colts 24-9, and the Houston Texans beat the Cincinnati Bengals 19-13. So now in the divisional round, Baltimore beat Denver 38-35 in overtime, and New England trounced the Houston Texans 41-28. So setting up the championship game between the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. And this time, Baltimore got their revenge. They had lost a close one to the championship game to the Patriots. I believe it was the year before, where their field goal kicker choked on a field goal at the end of the game, which would have tied the game, sending it in overtime. But this time, the Ravens got their revenge. They won 28-13, sending the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl. So in the NFC, the Washington Redskins won with a record of 10-6, the NFC East. The Giants were 9-7, the Cowboys were 8-8. As I said, the Philadelphia Eagles finished 4-12. They gave up on Andy Reid. Just totally gave up on him. The NFC North, the Green Bay Packers won with a record of 11-5. The Minnesota Vikings won with got a wild card spot with a record of 10-6. In the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons with a record of 13-3. They won the NFC South. In the NFC West, the 49ers with a record of 11-4-1. They won the NFC West, and the Seattle Seahawks with a record of 11-5 came in second place. So they were the second wild card team. So now in the playoffs, where are we at here? Okay, the wild card round. Green Bay beat Minnesota 24-10, and Seattle beat the Redskins 24-14. I believe this was the game where Robert Griffin got injured. I believe he got injured in this game against the Seattle, his knee. And I don't know, he was quite wasn't really ever quite the same after this. It was such a shame. So in the divisional round, San Francisco lost to Green Bay 45-31. Green Bay has a hardest time with San Francisco, and Aaron Rodgers has a hard time beating San Francisco. So San Francisco won 45-31, sending San Francisco to the championship game. And Atlanta in the Georgia Dome, Atlanta beat Seattle 30-28. So the championship game at the NFC was at the Georgia Dome. San Francisco won 28-24, sending them to the Super Bowl. And a very, very good Super Bowl. Actually, and the power went out in this one too, as well. let's see, does it say the horrible? It was also, the game has also become known as the Blackout Bowl because the power went out. Not sure. I think it was like in the third quarter. Power outage. Oh, here we go. The play was interrupted for 34 minutes because of a 22-minute partial power outage. The power failed with 13 minutes, 22 seconds remaining in the third quarter. So just after they had like all halftime. Then he played like about a minute and a half of the third quarter, and the power went out. Remaining in the third quarter, the Ravens winning 28-6. Emergency generators provided backup lighting. The New Orleans Fire Department rescued people from elevator 7, but other elevators were brought to the ground uneventfully. Attendees used double the usual amount of data for their cell phones. AT&T reported 78 gigabytes downloaded from 8 to 9 p.m., about double from the peak the year before. NFL Chief Security Officer Jeffrey Miller attributed fans' calmness to their preoccupation with their electronics. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, what do you do when something's going on? What's the first thing anybody does? Right? Pull out their phone. Right? If this was in 1982 or something like that, when there's no phones or nothing like that, things would have, well, I'm not saying something horrible would have happened, but people are, what do I do? Nowadays, what do you do? Right? Something happens. What do you do? What does everybody do? Pull out their phone, right? So in the third quarter, for almost a half an hour, the power was outage in a Super Bowl. Unbelievable. But I'll tell you what, it wound up being a very, very entertaining Super Bowl. Let's see here. We had, the Ravens went up 7-0. Anquan Bolden caught a 13-yard touchdown reception from Joe Flacco. Ravens were up 7-0. And then the 49ers, this was in the first quarter, David Akers kicked a 36-yard field goal for the 49ers to make it 7-3 after one quarter. Then the Ravens started pulling ahead a little bit. Dennis Pitta had a 1-yard touchdown reception from Joe Flacco, put the Ravens up 14-3. Jacoby Jones had a 56-yard touchdown reception from Joe Flacco to put them up 21-3. And as time expired in the first half, there was David Akers kicked a 27-yard field goal to make it 21-6. Now, the one thing here, which I don't know, that's tough to say because the 49ers came roaring back. But basically, the opening kickoff of the third quarter, Jones returned it 108 yards for a touchdown. And with Justin Tucker's extra point, it was the Ravens were up 28-6. And that's basically when the power was just right after that, the power went out. So the Ravens are up 28-6 and they had all the momentum, right? So it's maybe kind of thinking maybe after, they had all that momentum. If the game kept on, maybe with all that momentum, they might have kept up with the momentum and maybe the score wouldn't have finished up 34-31. So maybe that really helped the 49ers with that power outage because I said the Ravens ran a kickoff back. They're going freaking bananas. They're up 28-6 in the second half of the Super Bowl. And then boom. Power outage, right? So all that momentum kind of went away, right? The 49ers regrouped themselves and they came back and they made a heck of a Super Bowl out of it. All right, so after the Ravens were up 28-6, Michael Crabtree, this is in the third quarter, caught a 31-yard touchdown reception from Colin Kaepernick to make it 28-13. Frank Gore, with 4 minutes and 59 seconds left to go in the third quarter, Frank Gore had a 6-yard touchdown run to make it 28-20. Then the 49ers, with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in the third quarter, David Akers kicked a 34-yard field goal to make it 28-20. So that's 28-6. And by the end of the third quarter, it's 28-23. Wow, right? With 12 minutes and 54 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter, Justin Tucker kicked a 34-yard field goal to make it 28-20. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. To make it 31-23. Then, but the 49ers will not be denied. 9 minutes and 57 seconds left to go. Colin Kaepernick had a 15-yard touchdown run. They tried for 2 points. It failed. So now the score was 31-29. They tried to tie it up. I mean, that's understandable. But if they just kicked the extra point, it would have been 31-30. Justin Tucker kicked a 38-yard field goal with 4 minutes and 19 seconds left to go to extend the lead to 34-29. But the 49ers would get the ball back, and they'd still have a chance. They had a chance with a touchdown. They could have won the game. As time with 4 seconds left to go, the 49ers got a safety when Sam Koch, whatever, had an 8-yard run. He ran out of his own end zone for a safety. Basically, I guess to run the clock out or whatever. So it was 34-31 it wound up. So it was 34-29, and then the 49ers got a safety to make it 34-29. Let's see here. After the Ravens goal, let's see here. Okay, so with 4:19 left to go, the score was 34-29. San Francisco used up 2 timeouts on their next drive, but managed to move the ball to a 1st and goal at the Ravens 7-yard line. So they got the ball down there, but unfortunately they needed a touchdown, right? Instead of just a field goal. Following a 24-yard, they got down to the 7-yard line following a 24-yard catch by Crabtree and a 33-yard run by Frank Gore. It got them down to the Ravens 7-yard line. They're down by 5 points in the Super Bowl. Punch it in for 7 points, and you got a chance of winning the Super Bowl. But with 4 chances to take the lead, because they're 1st and goal at the Ravens 7, 4 chances to take the lead, San Francisco started out with a 2-yard run by James to the 5-yard line. Then Kaepernick threw 2 incompletions, and now it's 4th and goal, bringing up 4th down from the 5. On their last chance, Kaepernick tried to throw the ball to Crabtree in the end zone, but it was too far ahead, and the pass fell incomplete. Defensive back Jimmy Smith and Crabtree both made contact prior to the ball arriving, but no penalty was called, and the 49ers turned the ball over on downs with 1:46 left in the game. And basically, the Ravens were able to pretty much run the clock out. When it was time for them to punt, they ran the ball out of the end zone, giving the safety to the 49ers. But it was, made the final score 34-21. But the 49ers, they had a chance. They had the ball back, and they had a chance. And, it was a very, very exciting Super Bowl. I do remember. And it was with that power outage. It was, you figure halftime itself in the Super Bowl is long. Then you play a minute and a half, and then you got another 30 minutes, 30 some odd minutes of a power outage. So it was a long Super Bowl. But I said, the Ravens were up 28-6 to 40. Give the a lot of credit to the 49ers. They came roaring back. They got the ball at the end of the game, marched down to the 7-yard line. They got down to the 5. 2nd and goal from the 5. They had 3 chances to get the ball over from 5. They get the ball over, and they got a chance of winning the Super Bowl. But they just couldn't. 3 straight incompletions, and the Ravens got the ball back, and they were basically able to run out the clock. So fantastic season. Give the credit to the Ravens. Congratulations. They won their 2nd NFL championship. I said, but it was just the season for the Giants. They a couple of the teams that made the playoffs. They killed the Packers. They went on the road. They beat the 49ers 26-3 in San Francisco, and San Francisco almost won the Super Bowl. Just a few tough losses that the Giants had that they possibly they could have won. One of those close losses that they had possibly could have put them into the playoffs. And as we've seen with the Giants in 2007 and 2011, if they just get into the show with Eli Manning, as we know, anything's possible, but they fell just a little bit short in 2012. So that pretty much wraps up the 2012 season, right, with the New York Giants. I'll be back again tonight with the 2013 season for the New York Giants, which just happened to be the 89th season in history of the New York Giants. I'll see you then.